This is a one-speaker meeting. Please help me welcome our speaker tonight, Joe.
How you guys doing? My name is Joe. I'm an alcoholic and an addict, all the good stuff. Welcome to all the newcomers. I remember the day well, standing up, and those who are in your first 30 days and didn't, welcome. I think I did that the first time. Sat there and didn't stand up, but welcome. It's a great program. Experience, strength, and hope. My experience started when I was 6 years old. I had a brother that was 16, I was 6. Hey, Joe, smoke this. Okay, let's do it. Weed's cool, right? Well, we keep partying at 6, and it continued. When I was a young, 9, 10, and then by high school, let's, start drinking, doing lines. My first beer was actually in the car with my dad going to a baseball game, and he looked at me and goes, "Mijo, you want one?" All right. My other brother was drinking one, why not? So it's like in the family, one of those things that grew up thinking it was okay. They didn't know we did drugs, though. That was the bad part, you know what I mean? My older brother did drugs, and he went to prison when I was 8, so I couldn't tell him I did that because Rick was the bad guy. And me and my brother Anthony were the good guy, and I was the baby of the family, so I was more like, the corazito, my mom's mijo, my mom's heart, my mom's everything. And I was a mama's boy growing up, and I grew up really loving my family and loving where I came from, not realizing the dysfunction that I was involved in and lived in. And as I grew up, I was very involved in sports and school, and I played sports from baseball to football to rugby, wrestling, and I was the ASB president of my high school. I was captain of the teams my senior year, went on to college and playing football. All this time thinking there's no way a guy like me could have any problems. Never. My brother went to prison. He sold drugs. That was a problem. That was stupid. And growing up, I never realized when I started using drugs to numb pain, because my mother was a diabetic and she was very sick throughout, my childhood, that I never realized what I started using to numb. But when I first started using, it was just because it was recreational and it was fine and it was cool. But then once it became more than just recreation, is why am I using just to cover up? Why am I, doing lines all the time on the weekends? It was fun, we're partying after a game or this and that. But it got to a point in high school when, as I said, I was the school president, and one of the advisors pulled me aside, and I was, like I said, the baby of my family, so all my brothers are older, and I would come to school drunk the next morning, and they would be like, "Joe, you're drunk at school," and you're like, you're like supposed to be leading by example. I'm like, "Dude, just leave me alone. My brothers are older than me, I am, whatever. Leave me alone." They sat me down and they go, "Dude, maybe you have a drinking problem." You guys are idiots. What are you talking about? So I got first told I had a drinking problem when I was in high school. And I didn't think nothing of it. No big deal. I'm going to go on to college. I go on to college. I play football. I major in radio, television, and film, and I get my job, and I'm doing my thing. I'm working as a bouncer. And before you know it, I'm like, even older now. I'm probably 21 years old. I'm bouncing at a nightclub, running security, have my own security company where we're doing all these events. And I'm the coolest guy because why? I'm running security so I can get all the dope, all the dope dealers in and all their young friends in, and all they got to do is slip me a little something, and you got, carte blanche, you're VIP. And of course, I worked the system to help me out. So I didn't hit no rock bottom with money. I always had money in my pocket. I was, working, going to school, played ball, was cool. And while I was doing all this and bouncing at the nightclub and having my great time, as I look back at it, my mother started getting sicker and sicker from the diabetes. My mother ends up passing away, and at that stage in my life, I numbed up so hard that I didn't even cry when she died. I looked at, and like I said, I prefaced it by saying I was a mama's boy. I loved my mom to death. My mom used to have to push me away from kissing her so much. "Just get away from me, you're taking up my airspace," is what she'd tell me as a kid. I'd be like, "Mom, I love you, I love you." Can you imagine my fat ass on somebody like this too, you know what I mean? I just didn't get this big, you know what I mean? So it was like, Mom, I was like, just get away from me, mijo, get away from me. So it hurt me, but I never let it hurt me. And I numbed myself so much, and I'll never forget driving. I'm originally from the Bay Area, so I was in San Jose. My mother died in Fresno. They moved to Fresno, and I was driving back and forth. And just the whole way, I mean, doing rips the whole way. I'm just, you know, I had a pattern down, and it was crystal meth in the day, crank in the afternoon, and coke after 7 p.m. And that was my pattern. And smoking blunts all day, and then after 7, we're really drinking hard because now I got to go to bed because I did a morning show up in San Francisco, and I had to go to bed. I tried to anyways, and I'd have to be on the radio. So I was like, I have to wake up. So I would go there, do my thing, and when I'm driving back and forth, I was just so loaded the whole time that I never was able to come down. As you know, I just was constantly up. I'd wake up in the morning at 4 in the morning. I'd leave one on my CD case right when I got up. I'd have it laid out before I went to bed. That's the type of weirdo I was. I used to think it was so cool too. Like, I'm so smart, I'm ahead of the game. People are just so lazy. If they just take that extra time out, they wouldn't be so tired. And I remember, driving back and forth and being at my mom's service, and one of my good friends I went to school with, that I played sports with and went to college with, he was actually sitting there glowing. And I was like, his name's Matt. And I go, Matt, what's your problem? He goes, what do you mean? I go, why do you look so good? And he goes, I don't know. And, I was just like, I don't get it. And this is the same guy that, I gave his first hit of everything to, mushrooms, acid, all that good stuff. And it was, I was wondering why I haven't seen him in the past year, because I forgot that he got sober about a year before my mom died. And so at my mom's service, he's sitting there glowing, and I'm kind of like partying with everybody. I remember had a bottle in my hand. I'm looking at Matt in the corner like he's over there. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Why does this dude keep standing out to me, And he's kind of a good-sized dude. I looked at you, and he kind of reminded me of a good-sized guy, and I'm like, why does Matt keep standing out to me? Everybody else is in the room, but why does he keep looking so good? I paid no mind to go about my business, and about 3 months after my mom dying and me making up excuses of why I'm late to work and this and that, and as we all know, all the excuses we used to pull off, I remember one of the best ones was I was late to work, and I just grabbed my wheel right before I went into work to get some grease on my hands and to say I had a flat tire, just to lie, and yeah. And this is, I had to be at work at 5 in the morning, actually 4:30. And it was just a constant lie after lie. And I'm driving home from San Francisco to San Jose, and it was probably about a 45-minute drive. And I'd pull over in East Palo Alto to always grab a six-pack just in the afternoon about 2 o'clock, just because I'm halfway home and I could drink a six-pack halfway home and I won't get in trouble that way. And as I was doing that, I started remembering my friend Matt, and then I had what they call, which I didn't know at the time what it was. I just thought it was my mom scaring the crap out of me. But it was a spiritual awakening where I just felt my mom come in my truck and say, like, Mil, what are you doing to yourself? Why are you keep getting loaded like this? Why are you doing this? I'm like, and I was just like, I'd had it down, driving, could do a rip with my pinned cap, and, everything just all down, roll blunt one hand. It was cool. And I pulled over, and I didn't grab that six-pack, and I called my buddy Matt, and I said, Matt, how do you do this again? He goes, I go, what are you doing? He goes, I go to those AA meetings. I go, damn. Oh, yeah, my job sent me there once. See, I forgot about it. Because my job, where I was working at, I was always late to work, always had excuses. Even my job, where I was doing radio up in San Francisco, Joe, we love what you do on the radio, but you got a problem, man. Maybe you should go to these AA classes. So, whatever, I'll go check it out. I go to this AA meeting, so I go, Matt, is it the same AA that I went to in San Francisco? I go to this meeting, you guys, my first meeting ever when I didn't want to be sober, and it was a men's meeting in San Francisco. And I walk in, everyone's hugging and loving, and I'm not gay, you guys. I'm not AA, I'm not gay. I don't get it. I didn't know it was I had no idea. I was just an idiot at the time. So I thought AA was a bunch of gay dudes when I first got it. So I'm like, I started thinking, Matt, are you gay? He goes, He goes, no, why do you think that? I go, because I went to this one meeting and blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, no, no. It's not like that. I'm like, well, what is it like? He goes, well, come to a meeting. When are these meetings? He's like, every day. I'm like, oh, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if I need to go to meetings. I don't have a problem like that. I mean, gee, I'm not one of those guys. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'll just be cool. This was on a Monday. Tuesday goes by. I go, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop. Wednesday goes by. Thursday goes by, and I'm twitching. You know, I've got the shakes, and I haven't partied in 3 days, and I'm like borderline ready to lose it. I'm emotional. I'm just weirdo feeling, you know. And I called Matt, like, dude, I need help. It's Thursday, and I've already partied a lot, and I usually go from Thursday to Sunday. That was just my routine. I'm just up Thursday to Sunday, and I host a club on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and just try to die down on Sunday, and that's what I did. And it worked out great for my job, and I was like, you know, getting praised for it on the radio, like, you're crazy. And it was like one of those, it was just a weird thing how my life was able to live on the radio and be, you know, praised for it. So when I was partying like that, people were like, dude, you're crazy, yeah, yeah. Like, I had green hair, a big old nose ring, big old hoop earrings, and I was just the biggest weirdo-looking 300-pound Mexican you ever seen. So I go, and I finally get a hold of him again, and I go, dude, I think I need to do something because it's Thursday night, and I'm ready to rip and roar, and I'm ready to go. And I'm taking a couple weeks off hosting clubs. Matter of fact, I'm contemplating even changing careers because I don't know if this radio thing's going to cut it for me because I can't go hosting clubs and hosting events and doing what I do. And you know, my life's been radio. It's what I went to school for, and I can't get myself out of my environment and still be who I am because everything I've done in that life, I've been loaded. He goes, well, let's go to a meeting. When is it? Tonight. Okay, cool. What time? 8 o'clock. What is it? It's a men's meeting. Oh, no. I'll never forget this meeting. It was called The Gorilla. And about 165 men and a big room and like this room, just very mixed, very well mixed. And I was like, okay, cool. But then I had my ego and my conscience. I don't want people to know what I do for a living. I don't want them to know I'm on the radio out here. You know, I don't need nobody to know who I am. Whatever, whatever. Like I think I'm somebody. Whatever, whatever. So I'm nervous. I'm feeling, you know, I'm shaky. I'm all these stuff. I'm like, you know, the newcomer. But my buddy's tapping me, stand up. I'm like, you stand up. And you know, what do I have to stand up for? And I don't know if I'm gonna do this yet for real. And before you know it, the one guy stood up in that first meeting. And he actually played for the Sharks, and he said that, you know, he was scared of somebody knowing what he did for a living and this and that. And I was like, and it just like caught my ear, that first meeting. And it was my second meeting ever going. And I was like, wow. And that was another spiritual awakening for me. I was like, wow, God, thank you so much for grabbing my attention at that meeting. After that meeting, we're in the parking lots. Or even during that meeting, I'm walking around at the end. My buddy's knowing all these people, and I'm just like, you know, sidekick, how you doing? How you doing? I'm not really, I don't know what I am. You know, just nervous. How many days you got? 3, 4, 1? I don't know. Maybe I smoked on Tuesday. I don't remember. And I met this one guy, and he gave me a big book. He goes, you have a big book? No. He goes, here's a big book. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And he goes, you know what you know about AA right now? I go, no, what? He opens the front page. He goes, this. And I look. He goes, nothing. I'm like, thanks. That's fucking real funny, dude, you know. Now there's jokesters in here, too. Cool. Now I'm a jokester, but I wasn't ready for it. I was like borderline ready to punch him. I was like, it's real funny. And he goes, but if you ever need anything, give me a call. And he writes his name on the front of that book and on that front page where both the pages are white. Whatever. I paid it no mind. I go about my business. At the end of that meeting, we sat in the parking lot for 2 hours later, me and Matt talking, and I was crying my eyes out going, is this what I become? I felt like a loser. I felt humiliated. I felt like just a piece of crap. Because why? Because I really think I'm a drunk. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. And I felt terrible. I was just so embarrassed to admit that at the time. And to look back at it now, it's like I want to smack myself. Because now I'm so proud of it. But at the time, for the newcomers, I was so embarrassed. I felt like a queer, homo, weak ass, pussy, everything else you can call me, that was me, because that's what I called everybody else. Can't hang, part-timer, this and that, you're weak. But then I realized I'm strong. because anybody can do it. Now let me do something that I haven't done before, which is try to stay sober for a few days. So at that first men's meeting, I heard 90 meetings in 90 days. I heard get a sponsor. I heard do the steps, and I didn't know what that meant. Of course, my buddy, I go, Matt, I need a sponsor, dude. Can you be my sponsor? He goes, no, I can't. I go, what do you mean you can't be my sponsor? He goes, you got to work the program, Joe. You got to go ask somebody that you don't even know. He's like, I'm your boy. That's easy. Go ask a man who you don't even know and trust him. Go ask one of these old timers in there that have some years. I'm like, what do you mean? You're my boy. Help me out. You've been sober a year. You got the experience. No, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. You know, I'll help you. I'll go to meetings with you, but I'm not going to be your sponsor. So immediately I felt like, what do you mean? I didn't get that. So we go to the meetings, and he goes, let's go to more men's meetings, Joe. I think you'll like it better. Of course, he knows me, and I did like it a lot. And I stuck to a lot of men's meetings at the beginning, and that Saturday from that Thursday, after my first men's meeting in the morning, it was another men's meeting. I was shaking that Saturday afternoon, boy, and I was shaking hard after my meeting. I went to a meeting. I went to go work an event where I was like doing my radio thing, shaking hands, signing out. It was a fun event, stroke to me, my ego. And then I come home, and I'm sitting at home reading the big book, and I'll never forget my hand shaking. I'm like, wow, what's the problem? Before you know it, my hand started shaking. Before you know it, I'm just full on shaking. And I'm like going, what is my problem? Before now, I'm starting to cry, and I'm just going crazy. Like, what is wrong with me right now? Why am I a mess? I want to party. I'm looking all my CD, and it was just like first, like, you know, just total, just. And I'm like, I'm looking through my CDs where I used to, you know, party on. I want to lick them. I'm like, should I lick it? I'm like, So before you know it, on my coffee table, I had a stash of stuff that I used to party with, including what I had called my Bible, which was like all kinds of stuff to party with, and that was my nickname for it. How stupid! And I just had everything right there, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like shaking. Like, Matt is nowhere to be found. I called him 30 times, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And I had nobody else. I had nobody. I remember them giving a phone list out. Where's that phone list? I didn't have that phone list that they were talking about at that first meeting. I looked at that front of the page. John. Call that dude. He goes, what's up? I go, man, it's the big dude you just met at that meeting Thursday. Yeah, what's up? I go, I don't know what's up. I don't know. And I'm just... You said to call if there's a problem, and there's a problem. What's the problem? I don't know what the problem is. I'm just crying. I want to use. I want to get loaded. And this is, 3 days of being sober like that, and I was a mess. I mean, a mess. Did you go to a meeting today? Yeah. Did you read this book? Yeah. What do I need to do? Go to another meeting. What do you mean I'm 3 meetings in 3 days? It's 90 and 90. I'm going to do it. Go to another meeting. I'm like, oh, my goodness, I should never call the guy. So I go to another meeting, and I go to another meeting on the side of town where I grew up, where I really felt like I don't want to go to a meeting over here in this area where I grew up at, where I know more people are going to know who I am. And once again, I was still feeling that, unproud to be sober feeling. And I go over there all, hat low and just scared. I show up. I'm an hour early to the meeting because I didn't want to be at home. And I meet this guy out front, and it's this dude with his homeboy, Mexican dude, tatted up, big old mustache, just an old school cholo homeboy. I walk up like, you're sober? I'm laughing in my head. You're sober? Right? And he goes, yeah. I go, how long? He goes, 16 years. No way, dude. You don't look like you'd be sober. You look like one of my older brother's friends. Like, no, you guys party. You just got out of the pen. Or so he's like, yeah, I've been in the pen. I've been all. So we start talking. I never even make it inside the meeting. Me and this dude are chopping it up for about 3 hours outside. He becomes my sponsor, and we start doing the steps. And that's how I got really into it. I got involved with it. I believed in it. I seen somebody who I was like, there's no way this dude is sober. No way in hell. This dude is like robbing probably the place in a minute. And I identified with him in so many different family ways and matters that I was like, you know what, I love the guy. And it was a situation where then, my sponsor ended up passing away. And I went through that where I stayed sober through that. And then I did the steps. And it took me like a year, though, to do the steps. I'm not going to sit here and act like, for the newcomers, oh, you did it right. No, it took me like a year, man. I couldn't that fourth step to do the fifth. I didn't want to tell. I was so embarrassed and ashamed of the things that had happened to me as a kid growing up that I never wanted to admit those things to anybody. So for me to finally, say, screw it, I'm going to come clean and just really do it, from going to meetings and saying, hearing, sweep the corners, not just in a circle, and tell the truth and do the stuff with your sponsor. I'm like, I don't want to tell him that. He doesn't need to know nothing about that. And I did, and I felt a lot better. And, I've stayed sober through the grace of God, and I got another sponsor, and my dad passed away, and when my dad passed away, as he was getting sick, it was one of those situations. I was looking at my life going, how am I going to be able to stay sober through this one? My dad's getting sick. Once again, diabetes. And my mom already died a slow death of diabetes. I mean, we were right there watching her die. And I was seeing a therapist because once I got sober, just the groups of AA weren't enough. Joe had to go get a therapist. And I've been seeing a therapist for over 8 years, 9 years. And it's been one of those things that I needed to do for me because I'm really screwed up. And when I was working with my therapist and working how am I going to work out the situation with my father and my family and the dynamics of the family, I'm the baby of the family. Are they going to really listen to me? What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with my father dying? He was like, Joe, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to be the man to do everything right for your family. Because my brother is still used. You know what I mean? It was one of those situations where all my brothers, they still partied, and they still do now. Actually, my oldest brother, who's got me loaded when I was 6, he's been sober now for, I think, 7 years. And it was funny, too, because he read my fifth step. Oh, no. And it was on my coffee table, and he grabbed it. And I go, hey, what are you doing? I got all nervous, and I went, you know what? You go ahead and read that. You should read that because there's a lot of stuff that has your name in there. After he read that, he was crying. He goes, dude, I never knew I did that to you. I'm so sorry. And he hugged me as he's smoking a blunt right there. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And I'm laughing going, dude, you still don't get it, dude. You still don't get it. But then he finally got it afterwards. He never got in trouble again, too. I mean, he was in and out of prison. So it was a blessing in disguise how I was wanting to hide my fifth step. And I seen him have it and go ahead. And so my father dies, like I say, and I deal with it in an orderly fashion, man. I just handled everything that I needed to handle. And I was up there and I was able to say something and do things that I never did on my mom's service. And, when I finally cried for my mom, it was terrible. Till this day, I can see a woman that resembles her and I can break down. I can, smell something that smells like her and I can break down. And this is, over 9 years ago that she's passed on. And it's one of those situations now that I have emotions, I have feelings. I get so grateful to know that I'm able to live my life and stay sober. And, dealing with my mom dying, I was loaded. Dealing with my dad dying, I was sober. I got married, sober. Everybody toasted, sober. Joe, you're not going to drink anything? No, I'm good with my water. Actually, I made sure that they had apple cider up there for me just to, look cool, whatever. And stayed sober. I got divorced and stayed sober. And it was actually harder to get married, I think, and stay sober than getting divorced. Getting divorced, I think, was easier for some weird reason. A lot of emotions, but it was these rooms, though, that helped me go through it and stay, as best as I could. You know what I mean? It didn't get that ugly. It was pretty good. And another thing that I've done and stayed sober was continued to work in radio, and something that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. And when I moved out here, I worked for Power 106, and I work for Kiss FM now, and I do a sports show on AM 570, which is the Lakers station. And all those times when I came out here, I was like, even when I got sober in the Bay Area, I was like, there's no way I can continue to do what I do and be sober. You know what I mean? I've always in my life, since I was younger, I always dreamt of smoking a blunt with Snoop Dogg. You guys, I'm here to tell you I had the opportunity when I was sober about 4.5 years. I'm in the room with Snoop and Dr. Dre. And I'm doing an interview with him, and the bishop's there, Bishop Don Magic Wand, with his green suit. And Snoop lights the blunt. They're hitting it, and it smells just great. I'm still a weirdo, too. If I smell good weed, I'm like, someone got some good weed over there. I still love the smell of it. I do. And he hands me the blunt, and I grabbed it. This is what I've been dreaming of. Thanks. And I handed it off to the bishop. And I did it sober. And I was able to do it sober. And I look back and say, you know what? Like, why? Because of a higher power, because of God. Why? If you don't believe in God, believe that I believe in God. Because at first I didn't believe in God, you guys. He took my mom from me. You know what I mean? Like I said, my mom was everything. My first resentment was God. When I did my fifth step, who's the top of your list? God, that mother. My mom was 52 years old and you're going to take her from me? Oh, man, I hate you. Hated you. But I love him now. It's weird. I go to church every Sunday. I do a show on Sundays. I do a gospel show. I used to do a gospel show up in the Bay Area with MC Hammer, my pastor up there. And this was after I got sober, when my first resentment was God. I mean, you guys, I cursed God. Oh, boy. Now, of course, I'm loaded till I die. And whatever, and just partying. Just stupid. Absolutely stupid. I was just at a wedding this past weekend up in the Bay Area. I was in the wedding as all my friends I went to high school with and guys that I used to get so loaded with and guys that I had to make amends to and, you know, just the dudes that you rolled with as a kid, played football with and everything else. And we pull over at the Marriott to take some pictures, and they all the guys, there was 11 of us in the party. It was a big wedding. And they go to the bar to get shots. I'm following, and I forget because I've been out here for so long, and when I went out there to hang out with that many of them, it took me back. Like, I felt real funny this past weekend, real funny, to where I wanted to drink in the limo and I wanted to smoke weed this weekend. I really did. I was like, why do I want it so bad right now? Why? Because I'm with all these old friends of mine. And when we went to the bar and they ordered shots and they all grabbed their shots, my boy Leo goes, here's yours. And he hands me mine, and it was a shot of milk. And it just proved to me at that moment right there, my boys still love me and respect me and enjoy my company for who I am, sober now. They could all get loaded, and they did. And they probably didn't sleep that night. And at the bachelor party, they did the same thing. At the bachelor party, they were doing their thing. But I stayed sober. And I stayed around the same guys that I grew up with, the same guys I partied with. And, you know, through the grace of God, and by coming to here, it just kept me strong. But this weekend, you guys, you know, I've been sober over 9 years, and you look back, like, oh, when does it end? I was on the verge. I felt like I was on the verge this weekend. I was like, oh my goodness. When everybody was like this, I was like, where's mine at? And he just handed me, it was like a movie. He goes, here you go, Joe. And it's this big white thing. I was still laughing. Okay, cool. And I almost looked at my other buddy. I go, did you put anything in this? You know, I thought it was going to be like a shake. You know what I mean? All thick. I was like, oh, no, don't put nothing in this one. And it was just a joy to be able to know that I could still live my life now and do the things that I used to do when I was loaded, sober. And be able to, you know, walk around and go places and know I don't have to worry about lying or whatever. I own up to things. I had to call somebody, you guys, too. This past weekend I was at this wedding. I had to call somebody and apologize for something I said, too, because I reverted back to being an idiot, being around all my friends. It was my fault, and I said something that was just totally inappropriate. And I called him back, and I said, hey, dude, you know what? What I said was a little inappropriate, and I just wanted to apologize for that. The old Joe would have never done that. Never. Ever. And I said something about his wife just looking really hot, and it was stupid. It was just over the line hot, though. You know what I mean? I took it that far where, and this is my friend who I know would want to punch me over, and I was like, okay, I don't want him to be all upset with me forever. I better call him up. And, I mean, I'm still an idiot sometimes, a lot of the times, but, you know, I did that on Saturday, and I called him on Monday, and I apologized, where, you know, nobody would ever get an apology call from me. And, you know, now I have a girlfriend that I'm dating, and that's new and fun and challenging in itself, and she's white, and that's different for me, too. It's, My life, though, is for the most part really good, and I'm really grateful for these rooms. I worked today with a sponsee I have on his first step, and one thing I noticed with him, he actually asked, he goes, "Is there a AA book for dummies with the writing?" And I go, "You know what? A doctor wrote this, homie. I'm sorry. I mean, we could." And the way I did it, too, when I did the steps, my sponsee had a dictionary right there, and he goes, "If you don't know a word, Joe, we'll look it up." So I'm sitting there with the dictionary with him doing the same damn thing, and it's just funny, you know, that we're sitting there laughing, doing the steps, and he just got out of an SLE, and I just look at him, and it's even funnier, too, because he's a lot older than me. And I look at him and laugh. I go, "Dude, are you done with this? Because I don't want you to waste my time." You know, I go, I'm investing my time in you, and I mean, do you really want to be sober? Because if not, just go get loaded again. You've already been in and out a few times. I go, but I love you, and I want to work with you. And for all you newcomers, it's what it's about. It's the real deal. It's fun. It's hard. But, I mean, once you like get over a few things of, you know, the crying at night or the emotions and the feelings, get some cookies, whatever, you know, do something, because it's weird. It's the mind thing and the cravings and all these things. You know what I mean? Your body craves the alcohol, so give it some sweets. Or if it's dope, give it some sweets where you're like, you know, this works. It worked for me. I was only 130 pounds when I started the program. I'm just kidding. I was always big. I was like, I don't want to get that big. But it's a pleasure to be here today, and once again, welcome to everybody, and thank you guys for giving me your time to speak tonight. I'm Joe, I'm alcoholic.